And we're back here at Boom and Bust as usual. We're talking in between the visuals that you get to see, but what makes it exciting to have these guests with us: the Honourable Sandra Pupatello, of course, Senator in the Canadian Senate, and the Honourable Gary Marr, now head of the Canada West Foundation. Sandra, I've got a question for you. You're one of our favorite Windsorites. There was the announcement in Windsor by Diageo to close the bottling plant for Crown
Mhm.
Royal. We saw the response of Premier Ford of Ontario, who found the biggest bottle of Crown Royal I've ever seen, and
Huge. It was
and
huge.
poured it onto the dirt. Not saying good things about Diageo. So
Right.
I'd love to get your take on that whole situation.
Well, I feel for the Ontario government when these things happen because I've been there and I've had to deal with companies that, for example, Ford, the Ford engine plant was slated for closure. We had to quickly cobble something together and get to the higher ups in that company to get them to change their mind. And I'm hoping that this publicity stunt, hopefully will keep the door open. So in case there's an opportunity to have a discussion with that company headquartered in France to say, what do we need to do to keep that plant open? I'll go back to my earlier comment. When you put that much capital into the ground, it's there for a long time. And when the door's shut, it's gone. So I just worry that if there is any way to keep those doors open, what would we have to put on the table? What would Unifor have to do in terms of a negotiation?
Right.
Let's let's allow a conversation before you do something so dramatic to tell people not to drink their whiskey. Again, remember there are other Canadian jobs affiliated with that same company, and that's my only
Yeah.
caution because I
There's
certainly
another
appreciate.
bottling plant in Winnipeg, apparently. So there you
Absolutely. And
go.
there's
Yeah.
more jobs in Quebec as well with this company. So
Mhm.
we are Canadian and we need to worry about Canadian jobs. And as Amherstburg's in my hometown, I've been to that plant. So I feel terrible. We have Hiram Walker as well in Windsor. I remember finding a way for that company to fit into one of our funds so that we could help with an extension of their distillery plant. And that was many years ago. The world's changed, and I get that we're dealing with a company that needs to make America feel better, and that could be part of their decision. I just don't know if we want to risk other Canadian jobs by that kind of behavior. I do hope the doors are still open and that there's an opportunity to speak to the company to say, look, this is an era that we're dealing with America right now because in I don't know how many years we are going to get back to a very good relationship and we make great whiskey. So I just don't want to see the plant close. I hope there's time to talk.
Gary, what are your thoughts on the matter? Because obviously, Premier Danielle Smith has a bit of a different approach to these kinds of issues. Doug Ford is very emotional and
Mhm.
very protective of Ontario jobs. Is there a lesson to be learned here?
Well, there's an old adage that whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting over, and I think that of all the things that the Premier of Ontario could be working for, uh, this wouldn't be the most important one. This strikes me as being, a premier who wants to make a business decision on behalf of a private sector company. I don't think it makes any more sense for him to wade into this in such a overly dramatic way any more than it makes sense for Donald Trump to campaign for Roger Clemens to be led into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I think that businesses make business decisions. And to Sandra's point, which I agree with, is that this is a Canadian operation that has jobs in other parts of Canada. And Premier Ford, I admire him when he puts on his Captain Canada uniform, but it shouldn't be just Captain Ontario. He's got to look at it from a bigger picture point of view.
You
He's trying
probably
to
do agree though, Gary, that if
Let,
you are going to make a
please go
decision,
ahead, Sandra. Yes.
yeah, you're not gonna thump on your biggest client, which is the LCBO, the largest buyer in North America. Someone was not thinking in Paris or wherever their headquarters is in France to say,
Yeah.
what could the fallout be of this decision? Someone wasn't thinking. So if anything, that story for sure got right to their headquarters, and it may make them do a double take. And I hope that, in fact, is the
Sure.
effect. 'Cause I appreciate the emotion he's feeling. Been there. It's awful.
Thank you very much, both of you, for being part of the program today. I'm looking forward to continuing these conversations in our next panel.